Welcome, family, to another edition of Stranger Thinking Media, where we bring you the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, to address the problems of a modern world. So stay tuned. We have an awesome show for you today. And today's topics covered the Ark of the Covenant again, Obed-Edom, that's a new one. And topic 3 is the summary of all the stuff we've been talking about over these last 4 videos, or 3 previous videos. And so today, Exodus chapter 25 and verse 10. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And then we'll continue. And we go back to Exodus chapter 25, verse 11. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, within and without shalt thou overlay it, and shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about. So as I addressed in the previous videos, the ark is made of wood. Wood symbolizes humanity, but it's overlaid within and without with gold. Gold being representative of righteousness. So it's a righteous human. And so I think we can guess who this human might be. And we'll dig in a little more and see what else this ark was symbolic of. And it says in Exodus 25 verse 20, and the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another towards the mercy seat. Shall the faces of the cherubims be, and thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. So in the ark, they'll put the testimony. So there's a man who's covered with righteousness within and without, and within him is the testimony. Wow. Yeah, that sounds like somebody we all know. So yeah, it's symbolic of the Messiah. And we can dig further into it, but just remember, the Messiah came and he was the ark. In fact, in verse 22, Exodus 25, and there will I meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims, which are upon the ark of the testimony, of all things which I will give thee in commandment unto the children of Israel. So this ark is symbolic of the Messiah. And then when Messiah comes, all these things, as you all know, that when you pray, you're praying to the Father in the name of the Son. So the Son gives you access to the Father, just as the ark, the mercy seat, gives you access to speaking to Father Yahweh. And so the Messiah is the ark, or the ark is symbolic of the Messiah. And we'll continue on. Obed-Edom. Now this is interesting, and I'm going to have to slow walk you through this because you need to know about this story of Obed-Edom, because it lines up with what we talked about previously. Obed-Edom. And what does that mean? It means servant of Edom. Now that gets a little interesting. Servant of Edom. Now what could that possibly mean? I think it would benefit you. It behooves you to understand the story of Jacob and his brother Esau. The descendants of Esau are called the Edomites. Edom. And he's called Edom. His nickname was Edom because he had ate that red pottage, and also probably because he was red in skin tone and he was hairy all over like a hairy garment. Anyway, his descendants, we'll call them, just because of their name, the red people, right? So Esau's descendants are called Edomites. Now, I'm not going to go into detail here, but in the book of Jasher, they kind of tell you the fate of the children of Edom, the brothers of Israel. And remember, Edom has a perpetual hatred towards Israel. In fact, Edom is responsible for the destruction of both temples. I mean, it's a fascinating story, but you got to understand the 66 books of the Bible talk about the Babylonian invasion and how the Edomites told the Babylonians to raise the temple. I mean, that was on their mind. That was in their heart. That was on their mind. What better way to get back at their brother who in their minds, and I don't even know if it's at that point unconscious, but they've been taught, I think, it's been passed down how Jacob, probably the way they looked at it, Jacob stole the birthright and he stole the blessing. But, you know, a lot of it's prophetic. The reason Jacob, and if you read the book of Jubilees and the book of Jasher, you'll understand that the Most High had already chosen Jacob. So if Jacob had done nothing, which he probably should have, in fact, his actions were, in a weird kind of way, it showed faith because he wanted that birthright. And he wanted that blessing because he believed in them. But if Yah had already given them to him, all he had to do was wait. Just like Moses at the rock of Horeb, you know, he got impatient and he struck the rock, just as the Jews struck the Messiah, who is the rock. That's all prophetic and symbolic. And so because Moses struck the rock at Horeb, he was not allowed to enter into the promised land. Well, Moses represents the law. So the law cannot take you into the promised land. But who did? Joshua, which is the Messiah's namesake. So Joshua, that's the King James transliteration of it. The warrior Joshua has the same name as the Messiah. That's why it's kind of weird that people call him Jesus. And we're going to get into that at length. And I kind of did it in other videos. Because if you walked up on Jesus, or I'll call him Yahusha, that's his real name, and you said, "Hey, Jesus," he wouldn't turn around because he wouldn't know what you were talking about, and he wouldn't know you were referring to him because his name literally was not Jesus. So where did that name Jesus come from? And that's for another video. But understand this, his name, written out, is pronounced Yahusha, or in long form, Yahuwah, right? So the Father's name is Yahuwah, and the Son's name is Yahuwah. And that's very important. That's why it's important to know what the real names are, because it ties everything together. And then you start to understand who and what the Most High Elohim being translated as God in the King James. Who is this being? Or who are those beings? So this is an old argument, and people are still fumbling around with it like there's no answer, and or the higher ups who control everything say, well, this is what we're sticking with, and everybody has to fall in line with what we're saying, or else we'll excommunicate you. So, but it's very simple. It is so simple. Once you know the actual name of the Most High, then the whole thing kind of comes together, and it's important. That's why Satan is going to great lengths to hide his name. But anyway, 2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 1. Again, David gathered together all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David arose and went with all the people that were with him from Baale of Judah to bring up from thence the ark of God. whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, that dwelleth between the cherubims, whose name, well, let's look at this again, whose name is called by the name of, okay, let's look at the actual translation. It's not Lord, it's Yahweh. And it says Lord of hosts, Yahweh Sabaoth. And whenever you see that term together, that means Yahweh in his warrior mode. It always means his conquering mode. Or if you follow what I'm saying. So when you see Lord of hosts, it's actually translated Yahweh Sabaoth. And that means the Elohim, or the El, coming in his warrior mode, meaning he's conquering and overcoming something. Okay, some of you already know that, and some of you, might be a little new. But I'm trying to get you to follow along so you can understand some things here. How to study your Bible, right? This is how you study your Bible. And then we go to 2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 3. And they set the ark of God upon a new cart and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was in Gibeah. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, drove the new cart, and they brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was at Gibeah. Accompanying the ark of God, and Ahio went before the ark. So they were transporting this. See, the ark had gotten captured by the Philistines, and it actually, there was a power to it. I mean, it was real. So basically, as the Philistines thought, yeah, we got the ark of the children of Israel, that ought to hurt them. You know, we've taken their power from them. But what happened was, because it wasn't time yet, and the ark was working its way back to where it belonged, it started causing great plagues among the Philistines. This is symbolic. Follow me here. The ark started causing great plagues amongst the Philistines who had captured it. So if you look at it this way, somebody had captured the Messiah. Not really, but the oracles, right? And they were lording over it and keeping it from the true children, right? And so over time, something started emanating from the arks when it was time. When Yahweh had placed David on the throne, it was time for the ark, the power, to come back to the children of Israel, away from the Gentiles. And it started plaguing them. So watch, when they talk about the plagues of Babylon. Now, the Philistines are not Babylon, but there's still a symbolism being played out here. Whoever has control of the ark, and I'm not just talking about a physical box. I'm talking about if you will, the oracles of the Messiah and the truth and the way. Somebody has control of that. In this case, it's the Philistines, symbolically through holding and capturing the ark. But it starts plaguing them, and they start moving it around. Like in every city they moved it to, that city got plagued. And so finally, they're like, get rid of this thing. And the Israelites didn't even have to fight to get it back. The Philistines were like, yeah, give it back to them people. We don't want it. Give it back to those people. It got too hot to handle. They recognized that they had no claim to the ark. I'm trying to tell the church, the people who call themselves the church, and you got to understand where the church comes from. It comes from Rome. A lot of Protestants don't want to hear that, but the Catholics will even tell you they still claim authority over the Protestants because the Protestants still bow to the traditions of the Roman Catholic Church. And you say, what do you mean by that? Well, there's so much in history about the Protestants going to the next level. For instance, Protestants saying, hey, we're not supposed to be observing Sunday. We're supposed to be observing the Sabbath. And a lot of Protestants started down the path. And the devil, he was not going to let that happen. And the timing wasn't right. So Yah did not intervene to stop it, per se. And so in history, those Protestants that started trying to go back to the law, statutes, and commandments were burned at the stake. I'm trying to remember the name of this one group that just kind of summarizes it. And I can't remember, but I know they were chased down. They fled and hid in caves. And these were Sabbath keepers. And the church came and set a fire to the mouth of the cave to, extract the air and basically to suffocate them. And they did. Many people died because they wanted to observe the Sabbath. So I can't imagine, if you're a Christian, that you think it's not important. It was important enough for the church to murder these people to ensure that they would not take it to the next level. They nipped that in the bud. Because the next thing, these people are going to be keeping the holy feast days. So if you think it's not a big deal, why would the church go to such great lengths to put an end to it? And even then, there's still a residue. There are Seventh-day Baptists. There are Seventh-day Catholics. Yeah, because they know the Sabbath, the seventh day, did not go away. It is not Sunday. It never was Sunday. It never will be Sunday. And the Catholic Church says because these Protestant churches still observe Sunday, they are still recognizing the authority of the popes, who are the ones that changed the day. And why did they change the day? Because, and this is going to get deep, the Roman Empire and the Roman Catholic Church hold the oracles of Babylon. And there's more to it than that. I need you to let that sink in. They hold the oracles of Babylon. And the day of worship was Sunday. So it was the Saturnalia, which we call Christmas. So it was the festival of Ishtar, Easter. All these things are Babylonian. And yet you see Protestants who protested the Catholic Church and came out to a degree, but the persecution was strong enough to where they stopped at a certain point and kept certain customs just to get, apparently, to get the Catholic Church to back off of them a little bit. So they came out to a degree, but they left a lot of that Babylonian Zoroastrian stuff in it. And so they're still stuck under the power of the Catholic Church, which is what it comes down to. So I really don't, I know Protestants will hate this. They like to think of themselves as being different from the Catholic Church, but I don't view it as different because they're still doing the same things that the Catholic Church, the edicts passed down by the Catholic Church, the Protestants are still doing them. Sunday, Easter, Christmas, the Christmas tree. And you think these are light things, but these are just indicators, signs, seals, marks, you know what I'm saying? Marks of Babylon. And then fast forward to today, there's a huge movement of people coming out of Babylon. Why are we doing this? These are all Babylonian traditions. They're not Hebraic traditions. This is not what Yahweh taught Moses. It's not what he taught Abraham. It's not what he taught any of the patriarchs. So why are we observing it? And then people say, oh, we observe it because it's a nice time for family to get together. Do you realize that Yah has set all these festivals, all these feast days, all these holy sanctified appointments for that very purpose? And so these people in the church, Well, oh, Christmas is for people to get together. Yah gave you feasts, and he calls them appointments. Appointments, because he keeps fulfilling his prophecies on those days. Jesus, Yahusha, was what? He was sacrificed on Passover. You get it? Um, the the wave loaves that the priests, high priest, would wave in the air. The Messiah ascended into heaven on that day. Are you picking this up? Um, the Holy Spirit was given on Pentecost. Oh, by the way, the laws, statutes, and commandments were given on Pentecost to Moses on Mount Sinai. He's fulfilling all these things on these days. And yet, are they blinded to the fact that the Most High is fulfilling his prophetic utterances on the very appointment days? Is the reason he calls them appointments. And so let's see. After a long period of time, after the spring feast days are ended, there's a summer, I think 3 months, and then they start back again with what? The next feast day, which is the Feast of Trumpets. What does the Messiah come back with the sound of? At the sound of the trumpet. So he's telling you on that feast day, Messiah will come back. We just don't know the year and we don't know the time, but it's going to be on that day. I mean, there's a pattern here. It won't be on Christmas. So everybody who's got the mark of that Zoroastrian Babylonian thing, they will not see it. It's a sign. It's a seal. And it tells you who is not going to see it. If you're all into that, you're all under Mystery Babylon. A system. The system of Babylon is financial, it's spiritual, it's military. And I can get into more detail on that because it gets really deep. Okay? And I can talk about the city-states of Babylon. There are 3 of them. And they each one cover one of those 3 factors. And I won't go into it in this. I need to do a video on that because that is very fascinating once you understand the principles. But Babylon's a system, and it's a system that it's the controlling mechanism of the Roman Empire. And then you might want to ask, who is the Roman Empire? Wasn't that an old empire from way back? No, it's according to scriptures, it would never die. It wouldn't die by the hand of man. It's being reserved for destruction by the hand of the Messiah himself. So it would continue from that time to the very end. So it exists today. The question is, do you realize who, what, where, when, why? Who is this Roman Empire today? And remember, their system is Babylon. So if you're in that system of Babylon, you will exhibit the markers of Babylon. You will be marked by the system of Babylon. Okay? Whereas in the scriptures, it says, my people will have my mark or sign. Generally, when they talk about God, they call it a sign or a seal. It's the same word. It's a mark or seal or sign. And the sign, he said, wear it between your eyes, on your forehead, and on your right hand. So Yah, Father Yah, has a mark too. And his mark, which we call a seal, is wear it. He said, wear it. He was talking about the commandments. Wear it between your eyes, on your forehead. So his mark is in your forehead. Just like Satan's people, they have a mark in their forehead. And so Yah's mark is commandment keeping. The Holy Spirit will cause you to move in that direction. The mark of Satan, the mark of the beast, and the beast is the Roman system, and the Roman system is Mystery Babylon. Their mark is rebellion. Their mark is not keeping the commandments. And it'll be clear. And I know people get upset about this stuff, but it's clear. It's clear if you want to see it. There's grace But the Holy Spirit is not going to cause you to not keep the commandments. So let that sink in. Let it sink in. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 5. And David and the house of Israel played before the Lord on all manner of instruments. They were partying, right? There's nothing wrong with having a party. I know people think it is today. They're all uptight. But David played, and they were jamming. They were playing the music. They were rocking this thing, right? And all manner of instruments, and they were getting down, right? Even on harps and on psalteries and on timbrels, tambourines, and on cornets. They had the trumpets, which back then was the ram's horn, which is called the shofar, and on cymbals. So they were just in a really good mood. They got the ark back, and everybody's happy, and they're taking it back home. Now, here's where the problem starts. And everything that you just saw is somewhat prophetic, right? There's more going on here than meets the eye. And it's, like I said, it's prophetic, and we got to figure out what it kind of means. So in verse 6, and when they came to Nahon's threshing floor, Uzzah put forth his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, for the oxen shook. It wasn't like he was being purposely obtuse or something. He thought it was going to fall over, so he did a Moses. He stretched his hand and touched it, which you're not supposed to do, and there's the death penalty upon doing that, right? And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Uzzah, and El smote him there for his error. Again, one place it says Yahweh or Lord, and another place it says God or El, or it might have said Elohim. I don't have my dictionary in front of me, but the words are Yahweh, El, or Elohim. So Elohim smote him there for his error. It was an error, but he smote him because that was the law. And so even breaking the commandments in error accidentally still brings about the penalty because it's a law. And there he died by the ark of Elohim. And David was displeased because Yahweh had made a breach upon Uzzah, and he called the name of that place Perez-Uzzah. Perez-Uzzah. Yeah, it means a breach upon Uzzah. So everybody recognized it was a mistake, but he put his hand to the ark. And these are Yah's people, and even they have to recognize and remember, Father Yah is the life giver and the life taker. I mean, to us, it's like, oh, he's gone forever. Why would you do that? He created him. He can give him life. He could resurrect him today, tomorrow. He could have resurrected him an hour later. But it was for the edification of the people. So Uzzah's error was reinforcing the power of the ark and make sure the people understand the power of it. And let's move on. 2 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 9. And so the story continues. And once we understand again who and what that ark was, it's the oracles of the Messiah. The ark represents the Messiah himself and the prophecy of Messiah. And David was afraid of Yahweh that day and said, how shall the ark of Yahweh come to me? So David would not remove the ark of Yahweh unto him into the city of David, but David carried it aside into the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of Yahweh continued in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 months. And Yahweh blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. Okay, this is powerful. This is why I say there's a story being told here about where the ark I'm not just talking about the physical box, because the physical box, the Ark of the Covenant, was a symbolism. Obed-Edom would have control of the oracles of the Messiah for a period of time, they say 3 months. But as he controlled, as it dwelt in his house, not in David's house, in Obed-Edom's house, right? He would be blessed. He would have the blessings that actually belong to Israel. That's why you have the church who is under the Babylonian system. That's why they keep observing Sunday and Christmas and Ishtar, Easter. Ishtar, the mother of God. That was Semiramis, the queen of heaven. Ishtar, as she's called by the Egyptians, right? Ishtar, Easter. So Obed-Edom would have control of the oracles of the Messiah, even though that box belonged with the children of Israel. Obed-Edom would have control of it for a time. Now, Obed-Edom means servant of Edom. This is a reference to I believe, because it just follows the storyline. If you just look at what's going on and what's been going on, the oracles of the Messiah has been controlled by Obed-Edom, the servants of Edom. Now you have to know who Edom is. And the scriptures tell you Edom, the descendants of Esau, both physical and spiritual. Both physical and spiritual. If you read the book of Jasher, it tells you what becomes of the children of Edom. They are taken into Europe, right? And they become one with the children of Kittim, right? And they call the empire of Rome the empire of the Kittimites. And later on, it's called the empire of the Idumeans. Well, Idumean is just the Greek term for Edom. Man, the Edomites aren't lost. They didn't just. I really despise when people talk about people groups going extinct. They didn't go extinct. Just because you don't know who they are doesn't mean they went extinct. They just disappeared. No, they're around. And if you remember the blessing on Edom, or Esau's blessing from his father Isaac, was that he would live in the fat of the land, meaning he'd be rich, and he would get all his wealth and power by the edge of the sword. Yes, the vehicle of Edom, who rules this vehicle, he's the driver of the vehicle, is the Roman Empire. Pick up what I'm putting down. So when you see Edom, you can also just say, oh, the Romans. I mean, that's in the ballpark is what I'm saying. It means Edom is at the top of the Roman order. And all you have to do is figure out who the Roman Empire is today, and you'll kind of have an idea who the Edomites are today, because they are very wealthy. They live in the fat of the land, and they're very warlike, and their thing is to take. Their thing is to take and take and take, primarily by means of war. That is their blessing. You don't want to fight Edom. He's mastered the art of war. His technology now is unmatched. But you'll see the signs of his end. You'll see it. And the Messiah himself will be his end. And the times of the Gentiles will be ended by the Messiah himself. So, if you understand that Rome is Edom, essentially, I'm equating the two, because the children of Edom are the heads, the overlords of the Roman order. Okay? And their Roman church, the Obed-Edom, the servants of Edom, right? They are in control of the oracles at this point. And they're blessed for it. And if you look at how the Bible came down, we still have the Bible, even though Jerusalem was destroyed and the children of Judah dispersed throughout all the world. Edom, the servants of Edom, Obed-Edom, has maintained the ark. They have maintained it, and they have claimed it as their own, in a sense. And so they put together the Bible, right? They've perpetuated the scriptures down through through the millennia. That's why we have the Bible today. So it's not all bad, right? And they were blessed. The house of Edom, Obed-Edom was blessed with wealth and riches and power. Well, all that blessing is really supposed to be Israel's, but they lost the ark, and they lost the ark through disobedience. When you know the whole story here, right? But here's David. He comes back, the type of Messiah, right? He comes back and reclaims it, but he can't bring it home yet. So it has to reside in the house of Obed-Edom, the Roman Empire, Rome, the papacy. And it doesn't mean that, the papacy is righteous or anything. What I'm saying is, in a sense, they're right about one thing. They're in control of that thing, of the ark. And they may be in control of the physical ark, too. There was a time where they claimed it boldly. We have it. And then there was a lot of war. People were attracted to that thing. So eventually the Catholic Church just stopped saying they have it. I mean, for 600 years, I believe it was, that they boldly claimed they had it. And then all of a sudden they shut up. They stopped. They said, uh-oh, we better keep this thing quiet. And then it kind of fades out of memory. But they say it's at the Lateran Church, beneath their the altar at the Lateran Church. Now, whether that's true or not, it makes sense to me, because there's an unbroken line from the Roman Empire to today's papacy, right? So let that sink in for a minute. So I know they say, Ethiopians say, we have the ark. Well, no, I know that storyline, and it just doesn't jive. It doesn't. And, it might be nice to believe that, but there's too much history, documented history going on here. And we've been through a lot of it. So it should start to make some sense as to, if it exists, where would it exist? And why has the Catholic Church been blessed so much? Just like Obed-Edom. And what else do they say about Edom? Right? During that first invasion by the king of Babylon, when they told the Babylonians to raise the temple, meaning to demolish it, right? The prophet Isaiah said he called the children of Esau, he called the Edomites, the daughter of Babylon, mystery Babylon, because it was prophetic. The children of Edom would found, the Kittimites already existed, but there's a reason that the Kittimites wanted to be one with the Edomites. And that's another story. I'll just mention this. The first king of Rome was a guy named Zepho. Zepho was the grandson of Esau Edom. Wow. In fact, there was another grandson called Lotan. Esau's grandson, Lotan, and the term Latin comes from Lotan. So you can see where all this is going back. And the Kittimites wanted Edom grafted into them because their first king was an Edomite, Zepho, right? And so they did not despise the Edomites. They admired the Edomites, which is why they didn't actually go into a captivity. They were defeated and taken. The Kittimites wanted them to be among them, and they brought them back up into Europe to live among them and to make them the ruling class. And I'm going to do a video on that. It's coming. But, this stuff is real. And I think they call them the Blue Bloods right now. And specifically, I think they call the Blue Bloods the Amalekites, or the Amalekites became the super wealthy in this system. It gets crazy. But I'm going to take time to prove all that. But understand the Kittimites and the Edomites became one people to this day. That's what the book of Jasher says. And so the kingdom of Rome is called the kingdom of the Idumeans, or the kingdom of Edom. Wow. So Jacob's brother in 70 AD does what again? Destroys the temple. So the two times that the temple is destroyed, it's by the Edomites, Jacob's angry older brother. And it says there would be a perpetual hatred between Esau and Jacob. Esau hates Jacob. And so he destroys the temple twice. First, by prompting the Babylonians to do it. Second, he's now in position of power. He's the Roman Empire, and he does it himself. So twice does Edom destroy the temple. And now Edom has control of the oracles. And Edom, his way of getting his birthright and his blessing back is by capturing all these things from Jacob. And he's looking, if you look at it as two people, Esau right now is in control of the blessing. It was taken from him by Jacob, Israel, but now he's taking it back. That's what this is all about in the spirit. We can't connect the dots, but that's what's happening right now. So anyway, and it was told King David, saying, "The Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom." Yeah, they got rich and powerful and ruled the world. That church, that system, and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom. David, the great grandfather of the Messiah, right? Symbolic of the Messiah. He goes down, and it says he brings up the ark of. I like the language there. So he goes down to the house of Obed-Edom. So there's a point in time where Messiah comes back to Mystery Babylon, Obed-Edom, the servants of Edom, the servants of Mystery Babylon. He comes back and he reclaims the oracles, and he takes it into the city of David. He takes it back to Jerusalem, basically, with gladness. At the sound of the trumpet, watch, just watch. And it was so that when they that bear the ark of Yahweh had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. So now this is like the second coming of Hamashiach, taking back the oracles, bringing it back to where it belongs, which is in Jerusalem, taking it from the system of Babylon, taking it from Obed-Edom, bringing it back to his house. If you can see the parallels here, if you can see where all this is going, it's fascinating stuff. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 14. Let's keep going. And David danced. So this is the millennial reign of the Messiah. So expect when Hamashiach comes back and establishes his kingdom, that he will dance before the Father in heaven with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod, like a priest. But who is Messiah? He is our priest and our king. He's the king priest. And so here's David, and they point out he's wearing a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel, because it's the kingdom of Israel. I know y'all are having a tough time with that, but it doesn't matter. This is how it's going to go down. So Messiah comes back, dances before the Father in heaven, and all the house of Israel brought up the ark, meaning the eyes are open and they get back on board with bringing the ark home where it belongs. and the blessings that the ark brings will follow. And the blessings that were housed in the house of Obed-Edom, Rome, will now be transferred back to where it belongs, to the house of Israel, with shouting and with the sound of the trumpets, the Feast of Trumpets, the second coming, the establishment of the kingdom. This is all prophetic. Come on, people, follow me. It's simple. It's simple if you want to see it. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. And so this is showing carvings off of the, or etchings off of the Arch of Titus, where the Roman soldiers bring these golden artifacts out from the temple after they had, in 70 AD, after they had, or I guess by then it was 72 AD or whatever. And, you know, they're bringing all this stuff home to Rome to put in their temple. Notice they don't commit sacrilege, right? They come back and they bring the ark. Well, they show the menorah and they show other artifacts and they show slaves being taken, and they're bringing them back to Rome, and they put the menorah and the other implements of the temple back to their temple. And that's why the Roman Catholic Church talks about translatio templi, right? Means they wanted to take the birthright back by force from Jacob. So they destroy the temple and bring it back, all these things back to their temple. But they're careful. They have to worship the Most High. Now, I know the Catholic Church has these secret masses, but I'm pretty sure they're no fools. In order to keep this blessing, they know they have to follow certain things, right? So I'm just saying, the ark, okay, we can't touch that ark. They have to follow the same rules, though, and they know it, because they saw the downfall of their brother Jacob. They saw what Jacob did wrong. And so they're not going to make the same mistakes. So the ark would reside with them, but now they probably, in their little secret masses, probably do the rites of the Levitical priesthood, and you don't know anything about it because they're doing it in secret. So not to incur the wrath of Yahweh, who has given them control of the ark for a time until Dawid, the Messiah, comes back for it. And then he will transfer it, the oracles, the blessings, the birthright, back to Israel. You see, you probably read this a million times and never thought of it in those terms, but that's what he's going to do. So it's important that we start understanding the deeper things, the deeper mysteries of the Most High. And there's a good book about the Lateran Church, and you can look it up online. 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 16, and the man said unto Eli, I am he that came out of the army, and I fled today out of the army. And he said, what is there done, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there hath been a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God is taken. Well, that's all I have for today, my friends. And that's going to conclude our, at least for now, our talk about the ark. I love you all so much, and thank you so much for continually supporting my content. If you did enjoy this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. And share this with your friends and family. I'm sure they'd find it interesting as well. I'm very excited to continue this journey with you. And I thank you all for bringing certain stories to my attention and for continually keeping me updated with certain events around the world. I very much appreciate you all, and shout out to the channel members. And may everybody have a blessed and beautiful day who's in the body of Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach. Shalom.